Hello and welcome to another audio analysis. In today's video we're looking at the track Coffin by the Welsh band Holding Absence. This track is taken from their 2022 EP The Lost and the Longing, which they actually did share with Australian metalcore band Alpha Wolf. The EP only contained 4 tracks, 2 collaborations and 1 song for each of the bands, and Coffin was the contribution by Holding Absence. The band are certainly on the rise, as their 2021 album The Greatest Mistake of My Life was seen as one of the strongest albums of that year in the rock scene. So will this track be full of life or be the final nail in their coffin? Let's take a look at exactly how it sounds.
Bags packed and sorry sent, I am hell-bent on giving up on myself. Well, I'm stuck in stasis. Of it all.
I really love this opening verse, just how soft and subtle it is. Lucas Woodland has got a great range on his vocals. That's something that really makes the band stand out in live performances that they've been touring across the UK and the US over sort of the past 18 months. And I like already we've got some things that do tie in with the idea of this song. With Coffin, you think of death, you've got this idea of hellbent. It's such a small lyric that it just ties in really nicely with kind of the meanings behind the track. And we can already see this idea of maybe moving on, bags packed and sorry sent. The idea that you're potentially leaving a partner because you've kind of given up on yourself. So sometimes people end relationships because they don't feel good enough effectively. So it can also tie in with the idea of depression and something like that, because you have to move on because you're not good enough for the other person. So straight away we've got this build up in 2 potential ways that this track can go, and just this idea of trying to feel something. So it can again link with the idea of maybe depression. Okay, I love the transition from the verse into the chorus, because that last line, as I fell from the apex of it all, you're at that high point, you're at that peak, and then everything comes crashing down. The band really build in and really come in with this rock sound, and it kind of emulates that idea of kind of crashing into something, whether it be your mood that's crashing or just kind of your world effectively crumbling to pieces as you've gone from a great relationship into kind of just being single, and you don't really know what to do yourself. There's all these feelings that you're kind of going through. So there's just still 2 ways of looking at this song. You can look at it as the idea of trying to get up, kind of move past a bad relationship. And I like the idea of the nail in the coffin because it can signify 2 different things. The nail in the coffin can be, first of all, this idea that you're kind of putting your past behind you. You're trying to move on. You found a new love that is going to really appreciate you for who you are. So you're putting a nail in your past, and then you're kind of shipping it off and kind of being able to move on. The other way is looking at it is kind of almost like this idea of depression can lead to suicide quite often. It's that idea that love kind of gets you out of that state, and kind of love is the one thing that can kind of pull somebody out of depression. So it's the idea that you're kind of putting all your horrible thoughts into a box and then just putting the final nail on that coffin to move past depression. So you've got these 2 different angles that you can come off from this kind of root lyric that we have got, and this kind of meaning that is revolving around the track.
This one
And again, I like some of these lyrics that we have got. The one-way wasteland, this idea that kind of your life is effectively a journey, and I like the idea of the wasteland and the skyline. So after the whole bags packed, they're making it appear like a journey. You're moving through life, something in your past has kind of affected you, and you're moving on through this barren wasteland. There's time in your life where you just feel like everything is barren, there's no hope, you've given up on everything, and then you see a skyline in the distance, and you kind of filled with a little bit of hope. So it kind of all ties around through these clever lyrics, this idea of kind of going through a rough patch and then coming out of the other side.
And I found love like a nail in a coffin, and no one ever said that it would be this way. And I found you at the bottom of a mountain, and no one ever said that it would be this way.
And again with this chorus, I do love that line, and I found you at the bottom of burden. This is a thing that can kind of tie in with that depression idea, where you're kind of really at your low point, you're at the bottom of burden, you're at the bottom of the pit, and it's somebody that's able to pull you out of it, and you just really didn't see it coming. So the idea that love can pull you out of that dark place is one of the most powerful factors in helping to do so.
Death used to sing, made a slave. Her voice so melodious and clear, but you sing a different song. I'm forced to carry on.
And again with this verse, it's really strong the way that they're kind of building these levels up and really pulling out these long drawn out notes as well from Lucas that really just help to build that power and that emphasis. And this idea of death used to sing me to sleep, I like the idea of using songs. It's almost like kind of that's the idea of maybe like a siren song, and the way you're kind of being drawn to death effectively, so with the idea of her voice being so melodious and clear, and also that idea of you sing a different song, you sing something stronger that forces me to carry on. I think that's quite a dark lyric in the way that they've constructed it. I'm forced to carry on. Kind of makes it feel like you've got to, I suppose it makes it feel like a barrier that you've got to break. I mean, it's hard to break out of something like depression or those states that you can be in once you kind of come out of a relationship, whether it be abusive or something like that. So trying to break that barrier, you have got to force yourself to do so. So in that sense, it does make sense.
As I fell from the apex of it all, I found you like a nail in a coffin. No one ever said that it would be this way.
I do also love the very soft outro that we do have to this track. It's just a nice way to open and end it, almost like a start and end to an actual story, and that's the way that they have constructed this song. But it certainly was a wonderful track upon its time of its release, and it's just one of those songs that just beautifully fits together. I like the idea of the metaphoric language, the idea of the nails in the coffin, the use of death and hellbent, all these things tie together so nicely. Also that split way of looking at it, either looking at coming out of an abusive relationship and meeting somebody new, or you can look at that idea of maybe your partner's pulled you out of a depressive state. So they leave the lyrics very ambiguous, and you can kind of draw two conclusions from the same track, and they don't really force you down one road. They let you pick the path you want to look at it, or certainly the way you want to look at it, and that's always great to see when bands can leave this track that is just kind of with a little bit of ambiguity, just with a couple of different meanings all kind of intertwined into one track. Also Lucas's voice, I mean, I love the way he just dances around between different styles as well, those really high long drawn out notes, those kind of short lyrics as well, that just kind of has a bit more punch to them, is really nice to see. I felt the band really do contribute well to this track. They really just keep a good melody going. It's not the fastest and most melodic of tracks, but it has a really good pacing, and I love the use of the piano and the keys just in those softer elements, just those parts of the track, just to really add that little bit of extra emphasis to kind of give it a much more emotional feel to the track, and that's something that it certainly needs given the nature of the messaging that's found within. So that will be everything for today's video. video, but if you haven't heard of these guys before, I would highly recommend checking them out. Certainly give a listen to The Greatest Mistake of My Life. It's a very powerful album, and it certainly was upon its release. That's why it was voted by many critics as one of the strongest albums of the year. And hopefully we'll be hearing some new music from these guys soon as well. Hopefully we're good to hear some more music from them, because every album they've released so far has had quite a lot of strength and quite a lot of power behind it. Also, don't forget to let me know your thoughts about the track in the comments section below. And as always, if you want to see more content like this, then please do feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next audio analysis.